Hello and welcome to Recently Interesting. Today we're going to talk about Sprinkle, Sprinkle, Drizzle, Drizzle. Dude, oh my gosh. I will tell you, I had no idea what this was. It just came up in my suggested to watch YouTube feed. I'm like, what is this? And I went down a rabbit hole of this whole Drizzle Drizzle thing, and I was laughing so much.
Did you find the Sprinkle Sprinkle first, or the Drizzle Drizzle first?
I found the Drizzle Drizzle first.
Okay, and then backpedal to the Sprinkle Sprinkle.
Yeah, and then I watched video after video, and then I'm like, what is it? And watch people explaining it and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So I know that we watched one video at least that was the same, but I probably watched a lot of other. Yeah, I probably watched a lot of other short videos of just people making fun of it.
Did you watch Abba and Preach?
I did not watch the Abba and Preach one.
Okay, I watched the Abba and Preach one. It had the one crossover that it had was the guy in the military outfit.
Oh, yeah.
He was on both, but other than that, it was different. And Abba and Preach also reacted to a lot of girls reacting to Drizzle Drizzle.
Yeah, so first off, for, I guess, the people
context
who don't...
Sake.
Yeah, context sake. So, from what I understand, there's this lady on YouTube who is like a dating advice sort of person, or just, I don't know, someone at a podcast who gives people advice. And she's the one who started this whole sprinkle sprinkle trend, where like she's like, you need to have a man who takes care of you, and she actually like goes pretty deep into it, where she's like, I'll take a rich person over a hot guy any day. And I'm like,
was she advising other women this list though, or was she just sharing her list?
The thing is, her video that I believe it originated from was like 3 hours long. And so I'm like, I'm not watching all of that. So I just watched people's snippets from it. Yeah. And from what I understand, yeah, her advice is essentially get yourself a rich guy to give you everything you want. Okay. And like that's like in a nutshell, really. Like, I'm sure she says other things, but like in a nutshell, from what I understand, it doesn't matter if he's old, ugly, like whatever. Get yourself someone who's rich, who can give you everything you want, and then get everything you want. You know, like monetarily, materially, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I think that was sort of like the jumping off point for, I guess, a whole slew of other videos where girls are just like making these crazy lists that you've probably seen, where they're like, guy has to be, I mean, some of the things on the list I personally don't think are crazy.
Must be over 6 foot tall. Must make 6 figures.
Yeah. Like, whatever. Like, must drive a Lamborghini. Like, all just this random stuff. Like,
must give me an allowance.
Yeah, must give me a $10,000 allowance a month. Just crazy stuff. So, some of it's crazy. Some of it's like, that's just preference. Like, you know? Like people who want to date tall people. I'm like, I mean, it's just a preference.
It's all preference.
Like, what's the difference between someone saying I want to date a tall person versus someone saying I want to date someone with blonde hair or brown hair, or someone who has big boobs or small boobs or big butt, or, you know, whatever. It's all just physical preference. And I feel like everyone has, to some extent, a physical preference. But anyway, so yeah, I feel like some things are just preference, some things are, alright, that's a little ridiculous. And that happened on the girl side. And on the guy side, they responded by essentially just doing the same thing, but like saying the same stuff. But then the girls who originally made these like list videos or whatever, they got all upset about it, and they're like, no, like that's ridiculous. Like, how could you ask for that? Like, what do you bring into the table? And it's just like, Exactly. Like, exactly. So, anyway, that's kind of the summary of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I have more thoughts about it, but I want to know what you think about it. Because I know I shared these videos with you, and I'm like, dude, it's hilarious. You got to watch it. Then I want to talk to you about it. And you would, like, pass by me, and you'd be like, you're not going to like what I have to say. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm curious.
Well,
what do you have to say?
The reason why I say that is because I feel like you were showing it to me because you thought that with the guys was like the Drizzle Drizzle thing was really funny.
Oh yeah.
And I get it that they're joking and there's like a humorous element to it, but I definitely side with the girls on the sprinkle. I think that like the criticism that I've heard from the girls who were criticizing the guys making a joke, but a joke that is criticizing the women, right?
Mm-hmm.
A point that those girls were often making is like, okay. So you start with a girl who has, in these Drizzle Drizzle guys' opinion, too high of a standard, too high of expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're making fun of her because she has too high of expectations. So they're making a joke about like, well, wouldn't it be ridiculous if I asked for that? Like, see how ridiculous it is? And the whole point of the joke is to be funny, but also point out that
it's ridiculous.
These girls are kind of dumb. They're ridiculous. And the thing is, a counterpoint that I've heard girls make is these guys only think it's ridiculous because they can't meet that standard. And I kind of feel like that's true. Because I don't think that you found... Like, you don't see any guy who fits the criteria on this girl's ridiculous list who's making fun of the list.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to date that girl for whatever reason, but all the guys who are making a joke about it is basically because they couldn't be that guy. Not to say that they want to be with that girl, but that, like, they find themselves below the standard, which is why they find the standard ridiculous.
Yeah, I will say I think it's all ridiculous on both sides. Like, I think there's definitely, like, I feel like there's a difference between having standards or having, I guess, like, I guess I would just call them standards.
Standards versus expectations?
Well, I mean, no, like, it's one thing to have standards, to have expectations, but then it's one thing just to be, like, over the top. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if you're like a religious person and you're like, I want to marry, like, a nice religious person, and it's just like, okay, yeah, like, that's a reasonable standard, you know? And so I'm sure you can find that, but, like, when you make when you have too many expectations, I feel like that's when it's just like, okay, you're getting too specific, it's getting too ridiculous. Like, you need to be, like, more open to the realistic options out there. But I say that, but it's like, you know, there's these girls out there making these crazy videos with all these demands. The thing is, some guy is doing it, you know what I mean? Like, like, some guy, like, I'm not saying every guy, but there is someone out there who's very wealthy and very lonely, who's, like, doing these things, and these girls are just like, yeah, all right. You know,
I don't even think that those guys would be very lonely, though, to be honest. I think that the guys who meet that bar of what these girls are asking for could probably have their pick of a lot of women if they're willing to jump through that many hoops. And in my opinion, personally, I don't think that there's anything ridiculous even about a very specific list that these women have, But I would say that when it comes to your expectations, there's expectations that are reasonable and unreasonable. And the only distinguishing factor of whether or not your list is unreasonable is whether or not you can find someone who's willing to meet those requirements, you know? So it's like, let's say that this girl said, he needs a Lamborghini, I need a $10,000 allowance, he needs to be 6 feet tall, he needs to make 7 figures, whatever. And she can find that guy, and that guy's interested in her, then good for you. Hope your guys are happy together. Great. You found what you wanted, and he wants you too. Perfect, you know? It's not unreasonable.
That's the point, is the timeline.
If it's not reasonable, if the male dating market all looks at her list and says, I'm not doing that, then to me, that just means for her, have fun being single. Or revise your list.
But what's the timeline before it's ridiculous? You know what I mean? Like, say someone makes a crazy specific list.
I wouldn't say ridiculous. I would just either say reasonable or unreasonable.
Okay. Say someone makes a incredibly detailed list. Incredibly detailed, 5-page long list of must-haves in their dating partner or spouse or whatever they're looking for.
Sure.
At what point does their list become unrealistic? Because I feel like, based on what you're saying, it's determined by time. Like, it's like, okay, so if they start looking for this specific person for 6 months and they find them after 6 months, it's like, okay, it was reasonable. It's like, oh, they spent 10 years and then they find that person, then it's reasonable. So, like,
I wouldn't say it's determined by time. I would say it's determined by whether or not that girl is content being single in the meantime. So she's got this very specific man in her head. As long as she's happy continuing to look for him, then that's fine.
Even indefinitely?
Yeah, and if she never finds him and she's single for forever, but she's happy, she'd rather be single than settle for somebody who doesn't meet this very specific standard that she has, then okay, like I said, have fun being single. And if she gets to a point where she feels like, man, I do want all these things, but I can't find anybody who has all these qualities or who's willing, then for her, it's like, well, maybe edit your list. Maybe see, maybe I don't need this much of an allowance. Maybe it doesn't have to be that car. Maybe, it's okay if he's been divorced once, no kids. I don't know. Like, whatever it is that it's like, all right, he doesn't have to be over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
5'11" will do. if she's feeling frustrated or impatient about being single. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I feel like something I heard a long time ago. I don't know where I heard this, but it was essentially like, the person was like, imagine the perfect girl that you're looking for, everything you want. And it's like, why in her right mind would she want to be with you?
Why would she date you?
Yeah. And I feel like that's mean to say, but I feel like that's very much like a introspective sort of thought of like, yeah, what do I offer?
Yeah.
Like, would I meet the same criteria? Like, if I'm expecting, like a fitness influencer as my partner and spouse or whatever, am I one,
The thing is, though,
like,
there's a certain, maybe, like, level, I would say, that people might be at. But in terms of the exact qualities, guys and girls aren't looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
So you don't have to replicate, like, for example, maybe these girls are looking, I feel like money is like a key element in these lists that according to these other guys is ridiculous, right? These guys who probably don't make that amount of money, they think that it's ridiculous, and it's like, well, because in their jokes, it's like, well, I want an allowance, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not what guys are really looking for in women. They're not looking for a woman who makes money. Usually they're looking for a woman who's attractive. So if her priority is like, I want a man, I want a millionaire, and he better give me a $10,000 budget because I'm getting, facials every week, I'm getting my nails done every week, I'm getting my hair professionally done, I'm getting all these things done so that I can be like the most attractive woman. And to him, what he's looking for in a woman is, I want a really attractive woman. You see how it kind of fits together like a little puzzle. So it's not that they need, like women don't need to.
I guess it goes back to that whole Marilyn Monroe quote. What's that quote for that? What's that movie? Men for Blondes or something?
Oh, yeah. Gentlemen prefer blondes.
Where, doesn't she say, like, she's like, of course I want to marry someone rich. You want to marry, like, a guy wants to marry someone attractive. Like, what's the difference? Like, that's an oversimplification of the line, but it goes something like that.
Yeah, she says that it helps. That is a really good movie. I'll look up the exact quote because she says it really well.
Yeah, but she's talking to, like, the father of the guy she's pursuing, and he's, like, not really into her because he thinks that she's just chasing his son for the money. And she's like, yeah. It's like, but he's just chasing me because I'm hot. So, like, it's the same thing. But I don't know.
Okay, this is the quote. You ready for it?
Ready.
Okay, Laura Lee, that's her name in the movie. So she says to the dad, he says to her, you admit that all you're after is money. And she says, no, I don't. Aren't you funny? Don't you know that a man being rich is like a girl being pretty? You might not marry a girl just because she's pretty, but my goodness, doesn't it help? And if you had a daughter, wouldn't you rather she marry a rich man than a poor man? And he says, she says, you'd want her to have the most wonderful things in the world and be very happy. Why is it wrong for me to want those things?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess.
And they had said earlier, the dad says, he goes, they told me you were stupid. You don't sound stupid to me. And she says, I can be smart when it's important. But most men don't like it. Which is also an interesting element, too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess in that regard, what it boils down to is what you're willing to wait for. I guess. What you want versus what you're willing to wait for. It's like, well, okay, if you're extremely specific and most people will look at you and be like, that's never going to happen. You can be like, well, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to wait for it. It's like, well, all right.
Well, and I don't think that it's just about waiting, because I feel like if you are a girl...
Well, I don't mean just sitting on your hands, but like...
Yeah, I feel like you definitely have to be a certain way and put yourself in certain circumstances to meet the people who are likely to catch your interest. But I think that, like, dating is strategy. It's like a game of strategy. And if you want certain things, you need to be strategic and you could get what you want. And some people just don't play the game. Some people just like sit on their butts and have no strategy and then complain that success doesn't find them. And I feel like that's why, to me, these guys, the Mr. Drizzle Drizzle guys, it's like, okay, haha, you funny joke, you flip what they said and it sounds funny, you're right. But on the other hand, it's like, to me, I don't know. I just feel like if someone's going for what they want, no need to tear them down about it. And also, like, you may be joking, but, like, how successful are you to be making fun of other people? You know? It seems more like the joke is coming from a place of insecurity rather than
comedy.
Yeah, in my opinion. Because like I said, I don't think that any of the guys who were making jokes, making fun of these girls, wanting a man to earn so much money, I don't think that any of them are earning that amount of money. Because the guys who actually earn that amount of money aren't making fun of it because they're like, I got you. Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah,
it's like the same as the guys.
I mean, those guys are probably like, I can do that, but they watch these videos of these girls, and I don't know. Maybe they're like, 100% I'm a DM that girl of a finder, but like, I feel like they're probably looking for more down to earth people, you know?
Or to be honest, maybe they're not even seeing any of this content because they're busy
making money.
Making their money, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people who are successful, they're a little too busy for like to even.
It's like, wait, hold up. You made a YouTube video about Sprinkle Sprinkle and I'm dating you? Interesting.
They probably never even heard of Sprinkle Sprinkle.
I mean, there's still people. They still have conversations.
Yeah, they can have conversations, but like the conversations that they're having are probably more about like stock prices and stuff like that, I think. I don't know. Maybe not, but I just didn't I didn't see any of the men who met that standard getting in on the conversation. And I'm just saying I think that that's for a reason.
I feel like
Wait, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Sorry. When we first met, and over time, you get to know me, you got to know what my expectations were.
Uh-huh.
You didn't think that they were ridiculous or that it was a joke to, like, you didn't think it was funny.
No, but I feel like we're...
because you met that standard.
Well...
It was like, oh, that's the kind of guy you want? I'm that guy.
Well, I feel like you met the standard of what I was looking for too, you know?
I know, well, and that's the responsibility of the girl who has those expectations.
The expectations and desires you had was already the direction that I wanted to go, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, so let's say that maybe this, like, man who's making crazy... the man who drives the Lamborghini, who's 6 feet tall, wants a girl who has a $10,000 budget every month because he wants a girl who's going and getting laser hair removal and, Botox if she needs it, or whatever kind of surgeries if she needs it, or he wants the girl who's wearing designer clothes. So it's not just like, oh, what an inconvenience that you want this budget. It's like, oh yeah, because if I'm taking you to some kind of event, I don't want you looking sloppy.
I feel like...
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
But I cut you off, though. I want to go back to what you were saying.
What I was going to say is, I feel like, and this is just my opinion, but where guys, I feel like, get the most upset is the height thing. I feel like
because they can't change that.
Because they can't change that, right? It's like a guy could meet every qualification on a girl's list and be like, I'm 5'5". It's like, I can't change that. Like, I can have the most money in the world and whatever. Meet all of your material desires, but I'm gonna be the height that I am. You know what I mean?
I think that for the short guys out there, if they're feeling a little bit bummed out about it, what they should really do is listen to some interviews and follow the career. No, maybe not follow the career, but just listen to some interviews with Tom Holland.
Oh, because he's short?
Because he's short, but he's not bitter about it in the least. And he actually has a bit of a sense of humor about it. And look who he dates.
Zendaya, who's tall.
He dates Zendaya, who's way taller than him. And are they bothered by it? No, they're not bothered by it.
How tall is Tom Holland?
He's short. Sorry, Tom Holland, if you're listening to this. But you know what? If Tom Holland is listening to this, I know he doesn't mind. Because he kind of embraces it about himself. It's like, yeah, I'm short. He's 5'7".
He's 5'7"?
Yeah, he's 5'7". He's 5'7". So
how tall is Zendaya?
He's little. I think she's probably like 5'10", or if not 5'11". Let me check. Zendaya height. She's 5'10".
3 inches.
So she's 3 inches taller than him, but also keep in mind that any like awards ceremony or whatever thing that they're going to, she can't wear flats.
Yeah.
So she's wearing always going to be
at least 3-inch heels. So she's like
more like 6.
I said at least 3, probably a 6.
Yeah.
So she's 9 inches taller than him at events. That's wild.
So she's way taller than him.
She's nearly a foot taller.
They've discussed this before. That like when they were doing Spider-Man together, there was one scene where they were like kind of swinging and then they land somewhere, and it was really getting messed up because of the height difference. Uh-huh. I think like he was supposed to like catch her or something, but like she ended up kept catching him basically because the harnesses were just messing it up. Like her feet were hitting the ground first, and it was just getting all messed up. But like he has a great sense of humor about it, and he doesn't let it be. He doesn't. This is my perception of him. I don't live in his brain, and I have not had a personal conversation with him about it. But it seems to me that he's happy with himself. Like,
wait a minute, you've never had a personal conversation with Tom? Get him
never.
in here. Hey, get
never. But it seems like he's like pretty happy with himself as he is, and happy with like, he's confident. And so I genuinely feel like confidence, not cockiness, but just confidence, can outshine a lot of flaws, that like things that some people would consider flaws.
Man.
If you're short, but you've got a great personality, like it, especially if you're a guy, girls can overlook a lot.
Yeah. I bet she's really overlooking Tom Holland.
I mean,
she's a foot taller.
Yeah, but like the thing is, it just doesn't seem like he considers it a flaw. Like he just kind of laughs about it, like, oh yeah, it's funny, whatever. And that's the kind of guy that for a girl, even if the guy is shorter than you, you're like, oh yeah, I could be with him. You could not be with a guy who's short and bitter about it, because then every time that you guys are going out, it's like, oh, don't wear heels. Like he's always gonna have a little chip on his shoulder. Mark Wahlberg's super short too. I think he's like 5'8".
No way.
But I feel like Mark Wahlberg, maybe whenever he was growing up, maybe he did feel a little bit insecure about it, but then he got like super ripped instead. So it's like when you think about Mark Wahlberg, you just think he's super ripped instead of he's super short.
There's no way that guy's short.
He's 5'8". He's 5'8".
Oh man, it's weird. This
He's
is weird.
Tiny.
This is weird learning these things. But I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say though is, I wasn't trying to say this, but when you talk to a girl, you're typically not hearing, man, Marky Mark or Tom Holland. They're probably saying, oh, yeah, that freaking Witcher guy, or the all right guy. Like, and those guys are all 6 foot tall. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so...
Or The Rock. They're like, oh, The Rock.
Do you think that Mark Wahlberg would have a hard time? I mean, he's like, you know, he's like married with kids and stuff like that now. But let's say Mark Wahlberg in the 90s. Do you think that he was like struggling to get women interested?
But he was also like extremely rich and famous.
Okay, so let's say, pretend that he wasn't rich and famous, but he just looked the way that he looked. Do you think he would struggle to get girls interested in him? I don't think so.
Who's the guy who plays The Witcher?
Henry Cavill.
All right, if Henry Cavill and Mark
And Mark
Wahlberg
Wahlberg were together.
were the same age and in the same room, I mean, let's just throw Channing Tatum in there, and who's the Green Lights guy? All right. Who's that guy?
Green Lights? Oh, Green Lights. Oh, yeah, Matthew McConaughey.
He's not short,
No,
right?
Matthew McConaughey is not short.
All right, so put Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
Mark Wahlberg, Henry Cavill, Channing Tatum, all in the same room.
With Tom Cruise.
Throw Tom Cruise in there too, sure. But I mean, I think Mark Wahlberg's probably gonna. No offense, but like he out of a lineup, girls are probably gonna go for the other guys first. And this is just completely my opinion. I am not basing this in any fact at all.
Mark Wahlberg, don't be offended.
I mean,
I'm just saying because I'm sure he'll be listening.
he's doing fine. Don't get me wrong, but
I think he's married.
Yeah,
With children.
I'm sure he's doing.
And I hope he's really happy.
I'm sure he's doing 100%. I'm sure he's doing all right. But I'm just saying, like, I think if they're all in a club, people would be all over
Tom
freaking
Holland
Superman.
could get Zendaya. And you know what? Zendaya's got some options. I'm just saying.
All right.
Zendaya walks through the world looking at every single guy she passes, being like, I could have him if I wanted him. I could have him if I wanted him. I could have him if I wanted him. And out of all the men in the entire world, she chose Tom Holland. Even though he's the shortest man in every room that they ever walk into.
Yes. But I feel like, all right, celebrities
He
aside.
did have the coworker advantage.
Celebrities aside, in the real, in like,
Yeah, in the real world.
in the real world, I feel like a tall guy would have the advantage.
A tall guy would have the advantage over a short guy if they're bringing everything else to the table the same. But let's say a short guy with a fantastic personality who's handsome but just short versus a tall guy who is got an ugly face and has a terrible personality. Girls will go for they'll go for the guy with the better personality. Handsome doesn't mean tall necessarily. Like, you know, if you've got the wrong face, you could be tall and fat versus shorter but fit. You know, it's not just tall or short.
I'm not saying it's just. I'm just saying there's an advantage there. There's an advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely a benefit. Like, girls, if you say to a girl, would you prefer your future significant other be 6'2" or 5'2"? She's gonna pick 6'2" for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know.
But if you're 5'2", you're not screwed over. 5'2's very, very short, and you're probably gonna have a difficult time, to be honest. But let's just say 5'7". If you're 5'7", there's hope for you. If you're under 5'7", I'm sorry. Really get to the gym for sure.
Dude.
I'm just saying. That is something that you will have to overcompensate in some way. If you're a guy and you're like 5'5",
You better have a great personality.
you better have not only a great you better be very funny, very kind, very thoughtful, very well groomed, very fit,
Jeez, okay.
And you've got a chance.
Sprinkle, sprinkle, sure.
I'm just saying. But, like, you know, if you're in that boat, then you just got to be honest with yourself that that's what you're dealing with.
I feel like when it comes to dating and preference, there's a lot of stuff to unpack. I feel like this whole drizzle, drizzle, sprinkle, sprinkle is really only scratching the surface. Because you could have, like, an hour-long conversation about height alone, you know? But, I mean, there's other things, like, other than height, I guess. But I feel like, you know, there's the personality aspect of it. There's other physical appearance aspects of it. There's, you know, the thoughtfulness aspect of it. There's the what do these people do aspect of it. Like, are they
interests?
Yeah, what are their interests? Are they active? Are they not active? Are they sporty? Are they not sporty? Whatever, you know? Like, what are they into? I feel like there's a lot going on in everyone's life that, like, you can really dig into of, like, I don't know. Like, there's just...
Can I say something else about the Drizzle Drizzle?
Yeah.
You know how the Drizzle Drizzle guys were like, I need her to pay for dinner. I need whatever kind of allowance I need. Like, the jokes that they were saying of what they're flipping.
Yeah.
Really, if they were gonna, like, genuinely flip it, it would be like, I want her to have double D's and a butt like Kim Kardashian. Like, that would have been the real flip, which is a real thing that I'm sure some guys do have on their bucket lists.
That's true. Maybe we need to make a real Drizzle Drizzle.
I think that's the list. She's got to have the boobs. She's got to have the butt. She's got to have, like, an hourglass, like a waist. She's got to have, you know...
She's got to have her own knee pads. Yeah. Whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the end of the day, people want what they want.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, guys have their own lists that maybe they don't share on the internet as publicly as Sprinkle Sprinkle does. But that's not to say that there are not guys out there who don't have lists that are just as specific.
That's true. I feel like guys probably just don't make videos and make lists and post them on Facebook.
Not that I've heard of, but also I could easily miss that.
But the thing is, I guess that's the point there, though. Like, if a guy made that list, right? If they're like, I want a girl who is fit, with big boobs, big butt, knows how to clean, knows how to cook, wants to stay at home, wants to raise my kids, whatever. Like, all, like, the typical things, right?
Uh-huh.
And they posted that list on Facebook. It would be 100% just the comments of just, like, sexist, like, misogynistic, all this stuff. Like, he would just get lit up. But I feel like on the other hand, a girl can make a list of, like, I need a guy who's 6 foot tall, rich, dresses rich, drives rich, no kids, no exes, virgin, you know, like, whatever, like, perfect hairline, whatever. Make their list and post it, and I feel like the response and is
and the response is that she gets heavily criticized by men.
The response is Drizzle Drizzle, but
yeah.
But the response.
So it's not like she got away with it. Of like, well, women can say that, but men can't.
But what I'm saying is, it's not sexist. It's not considered sexist. You know what I mean?
I think that some people seem like they treated it as if it was.
But like,
because isn't not the whole Drizzle Drizzle point is like, well, a man couldn't say that.
Exactly.
Which means that it's sexist. So they're all saying, that's sexist. It's sexist for her because it would be sexist if we said it, so it's sexist for her.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the call out of Drizzle Drizzle, where it's like, it's sexist because you can say it and I can't.
But she can't. I mean, yeah, she said it, but it's not like she said it with and received no criticism.
Yeah, but the comments would have criticism, sure, but there would be a lot of, and was said in a lot of like the Drizzle Drizzle responses where they're like, yeah, a girl makes a sprinkle sprinkle video, and all the comments are like, empowering, yes, like exactly, like go after it, go get it, like very like girl power, go get it sort of like mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if a guy posted it, I mean, maybe the issue is just guys don't protect their own, and so they'd be like, "Ooh, that guy's screwed," and he would just get let out.
When a girl said online what she wanted, girls supported it, men criticized it. When men made the joke in response, men supported it, girls criticized it. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not that one sex can say whatever they want and the other one can't, but it's that people of the same sex, they understand that they're like, yeah, I know what you mean. Whereas the opposite sex is like not ready to hear what they're not ready to hear it.
Yeah, maybe that just goes back to the whole unspoken truth thing, because I feel like there's definitely a lot of unspoken truths that it's like, yeah, we all know that, but you don't say that out loud, you know what I mean?
And also about the guys can do whatever they want. I'll say, I remember in school when I was a kid, there would be like hot or not lists that would go around. It was never which guys are hot or not. It was only girls. Like it was guys writing lists about, what girls in the school are top 5. What girls are, there was never.
You had that list at your high school? That's
list
bananas.
Like that went around.
That is,
yeah.
No way.
I'm not joking you. I'm surprised that you didn't have that at your school. But it was guys making lists of like what girls are hot and what girls.
They wrote it down.
Yeah.
Where did they post this?
Like it's like one of those things that like it's school, things get passed around, and then it's like everyone's talking about, oh, did you see who's on the list? Did you see so-and-so on the list? Oh, did you see that so-and-so is above so-and-so?
This must have been a freaking episode of Mean Girls. No way.
No, that really did happen in my school. But, there was not a list going around of what boys were hot or not. So I just think that, to say that boys don't stoop to this level of objectification is, that's not true. And, boys would get criticized if they stooped to that level of objectification.
Right.
No, they did not get criticized. Instead, the only thing that instead of the girls looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh, that is so rude of them to have made that list, the girls were just like, well, who's on the list? Am I on the list? What number am I?
All right. That's fair. So I guess when girls are like, hey, I want to date someone who's tall, and the guy's like, well, I can't change that, and the guy's like, I want to date someone who's hot, and the girl's like, well, I can't change that. It's kind of the same thing. All right, fair enough. I see it. I see you.
Even though really I wouldn't say that it's tall versus attractive, I would say it's attractive versus money, in my opinion.
Attractive versus money.
I think girls want men who earn money, and men want girls who are attractive. I would say if you had to root it down to 2 base things, because I feel like women want men who make money, because in their head, this is the psychology. Okay, if I'm going to be with you, and then that means that you could potentially get me pregnant, or maybe we'll plan that you will get me pregnant. Can I rely on you in my vulnerable pregnant state, or me and my newborn baby state, to hold it down? And if I can't rely on you while I'm pregnant, boom, not interested. Meanwhile, guys are more interested in sex, and so guys are like, I want a girl who's attractive.
No, come on. The psychology behind that is, can this woman bear my children?
sure, can she bear my children, but it's not like once the guy gets her pregnant, then he's like, she's pregnant, so no need for more sex. You know, like, I'm off the hook for the next year. Don't have to have any more sex because I got her pregnant.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Like, there's a reason. I think there's like a natural born reason, because men have higher testosterone levels, and that is associated with a higher sex drive. Men want sex with attractive women. And that's why it's really important for a woman to be attractive, and that's why it's really important for a man to make money. And it's not that you have to be like a millionaire, but you have to make enough that a woman can visualize you as a provider. Because if a woman cannot visualize you as a provider, then why would she spread her legs? She wouldn't. She'd be like, I'm not letting you get me, a smart woman, I'm not letting you get me pregnant. You're going to put me in a bad situation if you get me pregnant. You understand?
Yeah. And, I guess a girl doesn't have to be a 10, but she has to be attractive enough to want to get her pregnant.
Yeah. So I really do feel like all of the, like, male-female dynamics and stuff, I feel like it all kind of hinges around pregnancy, to be honest. It's like a man wants to get a woman pregnant, and a woman wants a man who's gonna keep her safe while she's pregnant.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
And that's like the very root base of it. So that's not to say that for a girl to be like, he needs to drive a Lamborghini is like superfluous, because obviously that is like
superfluous.
Like that is over the top.
Those are mighty big words. We're not benevolent pilots.
Do you know what it means though?
Over the top, eccentric.
Superfluous. It's like there's the fluous and this is superfluous.
Oh.
It just means that like that is an extreme excess.
Yeah,
like,
I said over the top.
Yeah. It's like extreme excess, so like she does not necessarily really need for the guy to have well, you would think a girl does not need a man to have a Lamborghini, but if in her mind she wants a certain kind of lifestyle and she's not gonna go out and get a job, then I guess she does. You know? But that guy is gonna be like, well, I want a girl with a boob job and a BBL. Oh, you're willing to get injections into your body to fit the aesthetic that I like, as long as I make enough money to pay for that and have a Lamborghini and drive you around and take nice photos that you can post on your Instagram and get praise for? Cool. I'll book your appointment right now. You know. Because I do feel like the kind of men who, let's say like the men who meet that standard, to be honest, what I think of what comes to mind when you think of like men who are just like making a lot of money, very flashy with their money, which is kind of what it seems like these girls maybe want on their sprinkle list. You kind of have like an Andrew Tate come to mind, you know, of like somebody who's just like, I buy all these cars and I'm like out traveling the world and doing all this stuff. I make billions of dollars. And it's like, okay. But also, he also says things like, women just need to understand that if you have a high value man, he's going to cheat on you and you just have to look the other way. Which I would argue that high value is not I don't think that your value is got to do with your assets. But, you know, there's certain women who are like, well, I guess I could look the other way. That's fine. You know? They're all gonna make their compromises in the places that they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And if that's
like,
not
I will not date someone who's 5'7", but I'll date Andrew Tate and I'll look the other way when he cheats on me.
Yeah, if you cheat on me, that's fine. I mean, the same thing is true, I feel like, for a lot of women who date musicians or athletes, that they have an expectation of, like, you're going to be on the road, and when you're on the road, I don't need to know what you do. I know you're going to cheat on me, but I don't need to know what you do. Just don't get caught in the press, basically. And whenever you're back at home, we'll be our couple selves, our normal coupley thing, you know? And I think that a lot of people have that sort of an unspoken arrangement.
So I guess everyone's making concessions somewhere.
Yeah.
It might not be in the height department, but it'll be somewhere.
It'll be somewhere. And the thing is, because nobody is perfect, so you're going to have to make some type of a compromise. And even if they did find the person who's like, I'm super rich and super tall and super faithful and all these kinds of things, and they do find that guy, okay, good for you. I hope you're happy together. Great. If you can't find that guy, but then it just comes back to the thing about if it's unreasonable versus reasonable.
I know you said it doesn't have to do
If you can't find that guy and you're getting bummed out waiting, then maybe your list is unreasonable and you should edit your list. Because if you're not able to meet a guy that meets that standard, or you're not able to interest a guy that meets that standard, now you've got no cards to play.
Yeah, I know you said it doesn't revolve around time, but I feel like it does. Like, the list of, is your list reasonable or unreasonable? Is it, yeah, I feel like it revolves around time. Time and how long you're willing to either work at it or wait for it. You know what I mean?
I think that time is probably going to be more reflective on who you're able to attract than who you find yourself attracted to, though, you know? Like, the girl who wants this sprinkle man, it's like, okay, but like you said before, not only do you have to find this sprinkle man, but the sprinkle man has to be interested in you. And he might be interested in you if you're 22. He might not be interested in you if you're 40.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard of the website? At least I assume it's a website. Maybe it's an app. I don't know. But it's called Seeking Arrangements.
Yes.
Apparently. I've never visited it, but I'm told that it's like, I guess essentially like a pimp yourself out sort of website.
Did you hear about this on the Whatever podcast?
No.
Oh.
Someone brought it up at work, actually. So I'm like, what is this? But, yeah, apparently, you know.
Wait, does this coworker use the website? Or
No.
They were just talking about it?
Just talking about it. But, yeah, apparently, you know, a girl will just make a profile and then, like, it's like a sugar daddy type website.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. The thing is, as much as you'd watch like a sprinkle video as a guy and be like, it's kind of ridiculous. As much as you think that's kind of ridiculous, the things that these women are saying,
mm-hmm.
Websites like Seeking Arrangements is real. And these girls aren't just like making this stuff up and then sitting on their hands. Like, someone is out there doing this. You know what I mean?
We used to watch the show Millionaire Matchmaker too. That's like, oh yeah, I want to date a millionaire. Let me apply.
Yeah, and so I feel like it's kind of like, you know how like for like photographers, or not just photographers, but for like artists, people will like reach out and be like, oh, like I hear you're like a painter or a photographer. Like, would you mind like photographing, you know, doing a shoot of my entire wedding? And they're like, yeah, I charge, you know, $1,500 a wedding. And they're like, oh, could you do it for free and just like do it for your portfolio?
Mm-hmm.
And then all these artists, photographers, whatever, who are getting asked for all this free work, they're just like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you ask me for free stuff? Like, I'm a professional. And it's like, well, they're asking for free stuff because someone out there is giving out free stuff, you know? And so I feel like it's sort of the same sort of, I don't know, sort of this, it sort of runs a parallel to the whole sprinkle bit, where it's like, yeah, it sounds ridiculous, but someone's out there giving these girls exactly what they want. And so the fact that they're saying it, it's like, yeah, like someone's giving it to them, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like where it sort of falls apart, and who knows, I could be completely wrong, but I feel like where it falls apart is typically these sprinkle people are like very young, maybe early 20s, 18, 19. But then I feel like once they, like you were saying, once they get older, into their late 30s, 40s, and they're still trying to live this lifestyle, it's like, well, I don't know. There's a new 18-year-old every day, and so you're like aging yourself out of this.
Unless you lock it down.
Yeah.
Unless you get the ring.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't know if that lady was that young though. She didn't seem that young in the.
Oh, the sprinkle lady.
Yeah, I didn't think she looked that young to me.
Yeah,
but I think.
But I don't know anything about that lady's real life. I have
think
no
that
idea if she's dating a millionaire, married to a millionaire, whatever. I have no idea.
I just feel like the Drizzle guys to me just like come off as bitter, and it's like where somebody's saying it's a joke, but it's like that joke is coming from a place of you maybe genuinely being a little bit bitter, and the girls, I mean, you do see girls like this on the whatever podcast. I have noticed they're all sex workers. They're all like, 19, 20, 21 years old, sex workers, and they want this kind of high standard. And the thing that they're always told is like, dude, you're gonna age out of this. Like, no one's gonna want you. You're gonna be used up garbage. And it's like, yeah. I feel like if you set a, if your values, if you set very low values, you're gonna get low quality results. Which I would say when it comes to things like, oh, he needs a Lamborghini, I need this $10,000 allowance, whatever, that just seems like a little bit vapid, So it's like, you're probably gonna be with somebody who's, if you're being really vain in your pursuit, you're gonna find somebody who's vain. Good luck with that. But if you put more high quality values, because I feel like the like physical and monetary values, those are important, but to an extent. And as long as that certain extent is met, then it doesn't matter past that. And there's other things that are maybe more pressing. Because does that make sense?
I feel like what I have to say about it is I feel like if your dating standard outweighs your personal morals, it's probably not going to work out, relating to like the whatever podcast, where it's like they have low morals but they have a high standard, and so it's probably not going to work out too well for them, just because
I feel like they're just setting themselves up to get used.
Okay.
Used and tossed aside.
Yeah, so I don't know, I feel like your morals and your standards sort of have to equalize in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I also think, wow, I thought this would be a lot easier to talk about, but feel like it's kind of difficult to think about or talk about just because I'm just like thinking as we're talking more, and I'm like, it's very multifaceted. Like, true, on the surface, yeah. The guys are kind of bitter about it, and that's why they're making these videos, but it's also just funny, in my opinion. And maybe the girls are a bit gold digger-ish
Vain.
when they make their videos, their sprinkle videos.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. Someone's gonna date both of them, guys and girls, so it's like...
Yeah, it's like those guys will probably date girls who are less vain, and those girls will probably date guys who are less bitter. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. There's someone for every type.
There's someone for everyone.
Yeah. And if there's no one for your type, then you probably need to adjust yourself.
There's no one for your type.
Yeah. Like, if you, like, for that, let's say that sprinkle lady is going out on no dates, and nobody's interested in her. And then maybe she might think, maybe I am too vain.
He doesn't have to be a millionaire, but 500,000 is acceptable.
Maybe I could do $5,000 a month instead of $10,000 for my allowance. But you know what I mean? Like you have to know. Like I said, it's all a game of strategy. So you have to know, first of all, what you're bringing to the table and what are reasonable expectations given what you're bringing. And if you think, well, I'm not happy with what would be reasonable for me, then you need to elevate yourself.
Thank you for saying that, because that reminded me. I feel like what I was thinking was, I don't know, maybe having a higher standard isn't, gosh, I feel like I'm going to eat these words, but isn't terrible, because it's like, you know, I mean, set your bar high and then work down from there. Work down from there instead of setting your bar low and working down from there, you know?
Yeah, because if you set your bar low, then you're going to get the first thing that you try to, and then you're going to get, once you're content in that relationship, you're going to think, man, I could have set the bar way higher.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
I set the bar higher.
I don't know. I feel like when you talk about dating as a strategy, what I think about is like the swap meet. You know, where you like walk up to some booth and you're like, oh, this knickknack, how much? And they're like, $10. And you're like, 5. And they're like, 9, 6, 8, 7. All right. And you settle, you know, somewhere around the middle. But I feel like they set their bar as high as they can. Mm-hmm. And you set your bar as low as you can, and then it usually evens out in the middle. And so I feel like when it comes to dating, it's like, yeah, set your bar as high as you can, because, you know, maybe some things on that list are unrealistic, and you could work it down. Like, it's easier to work it down from the top than build it up from the bottom. Yeah.
When I say strategy, I feel like I don't really picture a swap meet, but I would imagine more like a game of chess.
Yeah, sure.
But, yeah. I do think that when it comes to dating, though, there's a lot of times where it's like, I've heard so many people air out so many complaints, and it always is just like, why are you complaining about anything but yourself? Like, you need to improve yourself before, like, it's, if your dating life is not going well, you are the problem. It's not everybody else.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
I mean that if you're a smart person and you can look at yourself and do an honest evaluation of what you're bringing to the table and what you want from the table. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Did that noise freak you out?
No.
Okay. Just a second. That noise kind of freaked me out. If you can be honest with yourself about what you're bringing to the table and what you want from the table, and then you think, okay, what moves? Like, imagine it's like a game of chess. These are my key players. Those are the other key players on the board. What moves do I need to make in order to get where I want to go? And then you go and you execute that. If you're sitting there and it's like you're not even playing the game, and then you're complaining because it's like, oh, my bishop got taken. Oh, I lost my knight. And it's like, but your head's not even in the game.
I feel like I'm getting lost in your metaphor, to be honest.
People, like, okay, for example, I have known people who say that there's just nobody to date. When these people I know live in places where it's like, trust me, there are people who you could date who live here.
It's like you're not living on a 100-acre farm.
I know
you're living in the city.
Like, these are people who live specifically in areas that I know have a dense population of eligible men and women to date.
Right.
Who could be compatible with them. And so in my head, it's like, you're not putting yourself out there enough. You're not trying. Like, if you're not finding success in dating, you're not trying hard enough. And you could say, oh, but I'm shy. Oh, but I'm awkward. Oh, but I'm whatever. And it's like, yeah, so then that's a problem and you need to work on that. Like, it's not like... Shyness is not something that has been bestowed upon you that you are meant to carry for the rest of your life, and everybody else in the dating pool is supposed to accommodate it. You need to overcome that. If you're awkward, you need to overcome that. So if you're not overcoming the things that are barriers to you, then that's your fault. And it's not that there's just nobody to date, or there's like no, like, it even when it just comes to meeting people, I don't meet anybody.
It's like, where are you looking?
Yeah, where are you looking? Are you even paying attention? Are you even going out of your way? Are you putting yourself out there? Are you going out, and are you intentionally going places to meet people with that intention?
Mm-hmm. I watched
if you're not, then like,
when I was going through the whole
Drizzle
Drizzle video, rabbit hole, I watched this one video where maybe it was just a clip, I don't know. But it was this girl, and she's like, I mean, I'll be honest, I respected it a lot. I feel like she got a lot of criticism for it. But I think she lived I think it looked like New York, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, okay, day one, testing. And she's like, so she'd like do these like tests, and it was just hilarious to watch her. But she'd be like, I'm going to, make myself look nice, and I'm gonna like go to a sports bar by myself and like try to send out the vibe and like try to pick up a guy and like, see what comes. And she would just do these things, and she'd be like, okay, I'm gonna like make myself look nice, and like she would go to places where she like would meet people that I guess where she assumed where there would be a bunch of guys, or B guys that have common interests as her. So she'd be like, oh, I'm going to a dog park, and I'm like walking my dog, and like I'm gonna like try to bump into people, but like her sports bar one was funny because she's like, she went and she like filmed herself for a minute, just like sitting there, just like completely alone. No one approached her. And then she walked out. She's like, all right, was in there for about 2 hours. No one came up to me. She's like, but I mean, it is 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. So she's like, maybe I need to think about, timing, just things. I don't know if she was being serious about it. I don't know if it was all just a joke, but I feel like the point there is like, yeah, like
you can make effort.
Yeah, like guy or girl, like there are places where girls are and there are places where guys are, and
of a certain type.
Yeah, a certain type, and like maybe go try those places. I remember hearing this one girl who, maybe you told me this story, but she would take, I think you did tell me the story, and it was from a video that you watched. No, but she would take classes, like, just like random classes, like she'd be like, oh, I'd take like a fishing class, or like I'd join like a fishing club or something. She was like, not because I like fishing, but I want
a guy who likes fishing. Maybe
not even a guy who likes fishing, but she's like, I want to find a guy, and I feel like a guy who fishes is the kind of guy that I want to be with. I don't know her thought process there, but it's like, but in her mind, she's like, girls aren't taking fishing classes. If I go there, I'm going to be the only girl surrounded by a bunch of guys. Yeah. Or she'd be like, oh, I'm going to go take like a wilderness survival class. I'm going to go take a shooting class. I'm going to go, I don't know, to the gym. I don't know. But like in the same headspace, a guy could be like, I'm going to go to a yoga class because...
I'm going to go to a cooking class.
Yeah. And not to generalize too specifically, but like, generally speaking, yeah.
There was literally a girl I heard of, and I'm trying to remember if this was a girl that I knew personally, or if this was like an older woman who I knew personally that was reflecting back on her life with me. I do that a lot with older women. Or if this was a girl that I heard about on the internet, but she was literally saying, I wanted to marry a doctor.
I told you the story.
Okay, so who was it then?
It was someone we know.
Okay, so she's like, I want to marry a doctor. So she wasn't even a student, but she went to the medical school, and she would just hang out on campus outside of the building that was like the science building or whatever, and meet guys. And she was successful at marrying a doctor. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, see, the possibilities are out there. You just have to be creative. And by be creative, I don't mean sign up for a Tinder account. I mean, go out in the real world.
That's what it was.
Where the real people are.
Yeah, that's what it was. The videos this girl was making it was a whole series. I think she called it like trying to meet men organically. And she would just, go like sports bars and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but, because I do think that the dating apps are really ill-advised in my opinion.
I feel like the dating apps are what they are. Like, people are like, no. They're not just for hookups, but it's like, I mean, kind of though.
And even if
it's like it's the DoorDash of dating.
Yeah, it's just add to cart.
Yeah. Like
that's no way to treat people, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah.
I don't know. The world's kind of changing. I watched this video, kind of on topic, kind of not. But I watched this video. This guy's like, he's like, we live in a world now where eye contact is like a little intense.
Oh, I saw that too. And then he looks at the...
Yeah, and he's like filming himself.
Yeah.
And so it's like FaceTime style, filming himself. And he's like, you think that I'm looking at you? He's like, but I'm looking like, I'm not looking directly at you. I'm looking below you, like a little below you, a little below your eyes. Yeah. And he's like, this is me looking at you. And he looks straight in the lens, and you're just like, huh, that is kind of intense.
It does seem all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, she's in the room.
Avert your eyes. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It doesn't have a whole lot to do with what we're talking about, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, people I think are getting too far away from
reality.
Real interactions.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I bring that up is because there was this, I don't know when I did this, but it was like this thing where it's like, I think one of my roommates showed me this in college, but he's like, yeah, this is how to like make someone fall in love with you in like 2 minutes. And what you have to do is just like, gosh, I'm trying to remember what it was. You stand, across from each other and you like hold each other's hands and then you just stare at each other's eyes for like 2 minutes straight. And it's freaking weird.
I've seen YouTube videos of people doing that.
It's weird. Like,
Did you do this with anybody?
I think I did it with my roommate and we laughed. So what I'm trying to tell you...
Is it a roommate who I've met?
Yeah. No. I guess what I'm trying to tell you is I've been in a relationship with my roommate. No, I'm just kidding. But...
I have loved my roommate deeper than I have ever loved.
But no, so... But, gosh. Yeah, so I think there was some merit to that, though. Because it's like, yeah, you, like, look at someone, you're present with someone, and I feel like there's more power to that than all the digital stuff. But
I think so. I think just show, like, as a girl, because I'm also not for, like, I feel like nowadays people are very much like, hey, there's nothing wrong with girls asking out a guy, and I don't agree. I think that a girl should allow a guy to pursue her, and if he doesn't pursue her, then he's not interested enough, and that's not the kind of guy that you want to be with. But I feel like...
So you would not condone Bumble?
I don't condone any dating app. I don't think that it's a smart strategy.
You know what Bumble is?
It's where the girls have to initiate the conversation, if I am correct.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds like putting a job on women that they... not their job. Like, I think that as a woman, it's your job to give guys the opportunity. And that might mean that you initiate a conversation with them. You get to know them a little bit, right? But in terms of actually asking somebody on a date, I don't think that a girl should be asking a guy on a date. I think that if this guy is not asking you on a date, then he's either not interested in you, or he's interested but too shy, too whatever to say it. Whatever he is too something of that's preventing him from just asking you out if he is interested, that disqualifies him. So
Why? Why?
Because if a guy's...
So
If he's too shy to ask you out, then he's too shy to handle you.
Okay.
You know?
Sure.
If he likes you, but he can't... Like, you want somebody who can deal with you as an equal, not somebody who is intimidated by you.
Okay. Okay, so if you knew, right? Think back to your dating days.
Yeah.
If you knew, I'm not saying suspected, but knew. Like, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that this guy likes me, and I also like him.
Yeah.
And it was like the moment, I don't know, it was like a moment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we haven't been on a date, but we've hung out a couple times. I know they like me, and I know I'm interested in them, you would just sit and wait, and you wouldn't be like, you wouldn't feed it to him and be like, so you're gonna ask me on a date? Like,
I have never ever asked a guy, so are you gonna ask me on a date? And the exact scenario that you're talking about did happen in my dating history with a guy. I liked him, he liked me. We used to hang out every single day for an entire summer, and then there was one opportunity that he fumbled, and as soon as he fumbled, I was like, never mind. And he asked me to be his girlfriend like a couple weeks after that, and I told him straight to his face, I said, you know what, I had a crush on you for the past couple months, and you didn't make a move, and so now at this point, you're just a friend to me. And he was very disappointed. But it's like, you know what? You fumbled. You shouldn't have fumbled it.
you had your opportunity.
You had your chance. You blew it. But he really did, though.
What's that from?
You had your chance. You blew it. I don't know.
Gosh, what is that
I don't
from?
know.
Oh my
But
gosh,
he did
that's
blow
gonna
it,
bum
though. Cause I told you, we literally, like, we were sitting, it was like,
me. Dude, that is going to bother me. You had your chance.
You had your chance.
You blew it. I have no idea what that's from.
Cause I know it, like, you had your chance, you blew it.
You know, have you seen those like shorts where it's like our generation in nursing homes, and it's just people like dressed up as old people, and they're just quoting vines or memes or whatever, and they're like obviously old and senile, and they're just like dressed up as an old person, and they're in like a nursing home, and they're just like, they just yell like memes, and they're like, me in my old age, and I'm like, holy crap, I think that might be true.
I can't find it because that phrase is too common, apparently. It's in a Kelly Clarkson song. You had your chance, you blew it. You know?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Since you've been gone. But yeah, so this guy though,
It's from a YouTube video for sure.
We were like out at night. We're looking up at the night sky. You know, we're sitting next to each other. I have my hands kind of like behind me. We're sitting. He puts his hands behind him, and his hand lands on top of my hand, kind of like crushing it. But he hadn't done it on purpose. He'd done it on accident. And I was thinking to myself, man, I've had a crush on this guy for 3 months. He obviously feels the same way. Like, if I just flip my hand, we'd be holding hands. And then, like, that'd be the start, right? And then I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, so, like, I could do that. Like I could initiate that, right? And I could, like, get the ball rolling of, like, all right, come on, we're not just friends. Like, let's get on with it. But then I thought to myself, well, you know what? Yeah, I could flip my hand, but also he could be a man and just hold my hand. And do I really want to be with a guy who is too shy to just outright hold my hand because he wants to? Like, he's not willing to take that risk? Am I really attracted to that? No, I'm actually not. Until now, I was, but now that I've realized that this guy is like that intimidated by me, no, I'm actually not attracted to you anymore. And he totally ruined it. And yeah, so then he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I just, like, a couple weeks later, absolutely not. No way.
Dude, getting a little too intense with this story.
But so anyways,
whenever you
my
tell
point
stories
is just
like
that
this,
I don't think that girls should initiate. I think that if the guy can't, if he's not confident enough in himself, then are you really attracted to him? Probably not.
Whenever you tell stories like this, I just think honestly, retrospectively about myself, and I think, holy crap, she's pretty intense about this. What does this say about me? What does this say? It either says that maybe I'm not intimidated by her on the very surface.
You're not intimidated by me at all.
Okay. I don't know.
You should maybe be a little bit more intimidated than you are.
Honestly, whatever.
You're like
I
a
don't
man
wanna
with
say
no shame.
Yeah, I don't. I'm good. We don't have to talk about this.
We'll talk about it afterwards.
Next. Go ahead. I wasn't gonna say anything.
Well, I just do think. Were you really or?
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okay. So anyways, my point is, I feel like a girl can give a guy the opportunity. For example, let's say you hang out with a guy every single day for 3 months. That means he had the opportunity. And if he doesn't act on that opportunity, then that's on him. But I don't think that it's a girl's play. I feel like if you are asking the guy on a date, then you're just like already accepting the role of like, I'm gonna wear the pants and I'm gonna be the one like romancing you, and you're gonna just like be super lazy and do nothing.
Okay.
You know?
Your whole life flashed before your eyes. Like,
I mean,
I'm gonna have to buy jeans after this.
Well, it's just like you want the kind of guy who's like a go-getter. And if he can't even ask you on a date.
Anyway, all right, let's try to bring it back. Let's try to wrap this up.
I mean, I actually just recently got an update from a mutual friend of ours where that boy's life is at right now.
Is he a millionaire?
Absolutely not. Did not finish his degree. Just works a job. I don't think that not intentionally. It's just like, I have a job. Lives with his sister. Him and his sister live together. And he's like, 30 something. And him and his sister just live together. He's got a bunch of family problems going on. And he's just like...
Alright, let's circle it back. Sprinkle.
Yeah.
I think is simultaneously ridiculous, but understandable. In my opinion, if I had to just give a quick opinion about it, I'd be like, you know what? If it's working for him, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I feel
Go be happy.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're doing all this sprinkle stuff, I think it's a little much. I think it's much.
It's not what you'd be willing to agree to.
Yeah, I think it's a little much, but if they're out there finding guys who, give it to them, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
I think the Drizzle Drizzle soft boy era movement is hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was the other phrase, soft boy era.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really funny. I think it's really funny as a response to the whole sprinkle thing. But I also think as a joke, it's funny. If people are like serious about it and they're serious like upset with the whole sprinkle and they're serious like, I'm gonna try to be a Drizzle Drizzle boy, I personally think, one, if it works for you, good for you, and you found a girl that's just crazy to me, but good for you if it works for you. For the vast majority, I would say, you know what? Obviously, you're not into these sprinkle girls. Go find yourself.
Don't date the sprinkles.
Exactly. Like, if that's the type of girl you keep running into, maybe you need to find a new venue for where you're finding your people. Yeah. What about you? If you had to wrap it up.
I would wrap it up by saying the irony of the Drizzle Drizzle boys is that they make the Drizzle Drizzle jokes because if they're being honest with themselves, they are in their soft boy era.
What?
Like, if you...
I think I know what you're saying. All right.
Okay, I'm not saying all men, but and I'm not in the dating scene for, quite a few years, so, I'm not experiencing this personally, but from what I've heard, there seems to be a feminization of men and a masculinization of women in a way that seems really ill-fitting. And so I feel like it's like, oh yeah, soft boy era, ha ha ha, and it's like, you're kind of a soft boy even for thinking that, though.
Okay. And then as far as the sprinkle goes?
As far as the sprinkle goes, I think,
shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot, and if you miss, then,
readjust.
Either try again or think maybe I'm not so good at, maybe they need to lower the... It's like the little Tikes basketball thing, You can shoot your shot, but after you've missed a couple times, maybe just take that down a notch.
Maybe just lower the hoop, yeah.
Maybe lower the hoop a little, just a couple notches.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good...
So I'm not mad at the sprinkles.
I feel like that's a good sort of generalization for both sides. Shoot your shot. Take,
Yeah, and
give it your best shot on both sides. Go after what you want, as specific as you want. And if you don't find anyone there, maybe reassess.
Well, the funny thing is, like, the Drizzle Drizzle boys are reacting to the Sprinkle girls, and it's like, you know what? To be honest, I don't think that the Sprinkle girl was extending a personal invitation to you. Like, I don't think she was necessarily taking you under consideration.
Uh-huh.
So their reaction is if, like, this is what they want from me, and it's like, no, they don't want anything from you. They're not interested in you. They're good.
It's a little harsh.
Well, I guess that's what I mean by, like, they're already in their soft layer. It's like the Sprinkle girls know that you're not going to meet that standard. They weren't looking for that from you. So.
But I feel like, on the other hand, a girl who has to post a video or make a list on any sort of social media, projecting what she wants, in my opinion, she's not finding it.
Oh, totally agree. We always say about, like, people, like, usually people who are successful move in silence.
Mm-hmm.
So true. And I do think even when it comes to dating, I feel like that very much applies. Not that you never discuss your dating life with other people, but, like, I wasn't putting my updates on the internet. And I wasn't even really telling all the updates to, like, my roommates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I didn't share my business with everybody.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's the drawback of the whole sprinkle thing, where it's like, if you're posting this on YouTube, if you're posting this on social media, saying, here are my list of demands, it's like,
yeah,
I'm not sure who's, like, following you on Instagram or Facebook, and they, like,
must be just girls,
and
right?
they, like, see that, and they're like, that's what she wants? Gosh.
Oh my gosh, I could do that.
Like,
I can get this girl.
Yeah, it's like, finally she's telling me.
Yeah,
like,
my
suspicion
is that the Sprinkle girl is probably just having, like, in her head what's just, like, a little chat with the ladies, And I think that, like I said, a lot of the time people talk a lot when they don't really have that much to say. So it's like, I don't know that she is finding this guy. I think she's just fantasizing about this guy and then telling her friends about her fantasy.
Yeah, I feel like that sort of goes back to what we've said in the past about social media, where it's like there's really no privacy anymore. People are just sort of sharing a little too much on the internet.
Oh yeah, for
It's
sure.
like, it's like, you know what? Thank you for sharing. No one asked.
Which goes back to the Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck thing when he said the movie's called The Greatest Story Never Told.
Greatest love story never told.
Yeah, Greatest Love Story Never Told. But now you're telling it, so I guess it's not. And it's like...
They're still together?
Precisely.
They break up?
They are not divorced, but he's moved out. So, you know. And she's looking for a new place. But yeah, so that's what I would say. Take that wisdom from Ben Affleck that if you want the greatest love story never told, then you need to not be running your mouth all over.
Maybe they want the greatest story, the greatest love story that was told. Maybe they want Love Actually. Maybe they want The Notebook. I've actually never seen Love Actually.
I have actually, the Notebook. I know you're trying to wrap up, so you should have. But yeah, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, it's so cute. And it's like, yeah, you know, Ryan Gosling, so yeah, you know, like, especially at the beginning before he has a beard. But like, if you actually look at the love story, it's like, wow, very cute that you die together. But like, the whole...
Whoa, spoilers.
The whole...
Goodness gracious.
The whole infidelity thing, and the you together and you break up and then you get back together but you're cheating on your fiance thing, and then it's like, are you going to keep cheating or not or whatever? It's like, that's not that romantic to me.
I see.
And you see this sometime in rom-coms or like romantic dramas. It's for me, anytime that there's cheating involved, it kind of ruins the rose-tinted image of the whole thing. Isn't that so romantic? They couldn't help being with each other, even when they were married to other people.
Yeah.
But that's just my own personal, you know, that's just my own convictions.
I mean, all of this is... I feel like a lot of this that we've spoken about today probably wouldn't get taken too well by the masses, but...
I don't know the masses, luckily.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we're a little based.
I don't know what that quite means, because I feel like people keep using that phrase, but
we've pitched our tents.
I don't identify like with whatever adjectives, like
We've
know
pitched our tents. We're camped out. We've made up our minds about a lot of the world.
I'm open to other ideas, but I just think that, you know,
Other ideas are stupid.
Well, I just think that there's certain things that make sense to me, and then there's other things that don't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, I would welcome anybody to explain to me why it makes sense to them. And maybe I might agree with what they have to say, but usually if I've developed a certain opinion, usually I stay neutral unless I've like researched it out.
Yeah, I agree. Usually my opinions are based on a lot of thought. I mean, we've had a lot of conversations where I'm like thinking one way, and then I'm like, that's interesting. And then I like adjust my opinion to like fit how I actually feel about it.
Yeah, so I think I'm pretty I think we're both flexible. But yeah, I think it is maybe a part of the sprinkle sprinkle drizzle drizzle thing on both accounts is maybe a symptom of people being chronically online. It's like, you know what? Instead you should get off the internet. Go out to the sports bar or whatever what that one girl did, but don't film yourself. Just go out and be out. It does not need to be documented. It does not need to be, it can just be your life.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think that's good. I'm going to end it there. Good talk. I think this one was our longest yet. Jeez.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great topic. I thought it was fun to talk about.
Yeah. I was very much excited to talk about this just because when I was watching these videos, I was just dying. Like, I was working.
Well, that's why I thought you wouldn't like what I had to
gosh.
say about it, because you were thinking that the Drizzle Drizzles were hilarious. And I'm like...
I thought they were funny.
I'm like watching these boys like, that's embarrassing for you.
Sure. But it was funny. Because especially when you watch them side by side. And then you watch a girl do like a sprinkle video. And then a guy do a drizzle video, and then you watch that same girl who was doing that first video responding to it. I just think it was comedy.
I only watched the one video that you sent me, and then the Ab and Preach one, but we should watch the Ab and Preach one together, maybe. If you feel like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.